5 o'clock, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We have Dr. McMillan here today to talk about sewer compliance with his property, so I'd like to move number 8 even before the review of the minutes.
Sounds good.
Sure. That way you don't have to hang out here for...
No, I have to pick up the kids at 5:30 for practice, so it's
Okay.
like great.
All right, so we sent you a letter for 2 of your properties in regards to compliance to hook it up to public sewer. And we sent it to 4 or 5 other properties, some businesses and some residential. And we're working towards getting everybody in the same place. Other people have been required to hook up to sewer, and we want to make sure we're all in the same playing field. So that's where we're at. This isn't a single it out thing. This isn't anything to do with anything but trying to get everybody in compliance with the ordinance. The property, the dentist office, as Keith has told me, has a sewer stub in place, and the sewer.
I paid to have that put in myself. It did not have a stub in place, but
Okay.
when I took the property, I put it in and been paying every month since then on that.
Okay. Yep.
I wasn't sure of the quality of the existing system that was there, so I wanted the option, and again, in case I needed to.
Okay. I don't know what went on with the other boards or after this was drafted, but we need to work towards getting these properties to where they should be. Your case, and this doesn't really matter, but that property is a whole lot less expensive than most of the properties that are being asked to comply. Be it that the sewer system's on your side of the road for the dentist office, whereas you don't have to cross the highway, and you already have a water source. That's that property. We're trying. The ordinance says stuff about a 90-day notice, and eventually it would come to that. If people didn't comply, we'd have to send out a notice that they were supposed to comply within 90 days, but we realize that things like that don't happen overnight, and construction season is very short in the western mountains of Maine. So we want to work with everybody to try to get a plan and a timeline to try to get these things done.
How long has this been on the books anyway? This ordinance?
This one, I believe it was.
Revision took place 2011. There was a prior ordinance, I don't know the phrasing, Snow from Frenchie's notes moving forward, that there was a lot of communications with property owners, other properties, that need to come into compliance also. So it's been an ongoing for sure since 2000. And I know back from records indicating that people need to meet. Now, I think some of it changed from the 200 foot to a 300 foot variance, and from the property line to the sewer system, the main. I'm not sure on the exact wording of any prior ordinances. I'm operating off the new one. So, but since 2011 for sure, which would be July 2011. And then amended again in 2012, I would say.
So it states in section 30.2.4 that, to sum it up, and there's a lot in the paragraph, but if your property falls within property falls within 200 feet of public sewer, then you have to hook up to the public sewer.
Yeah. Now, is that the property or the residence?
Property line is how it's worded.
Because it's conceivable that this could be a half a mile worth of pipe.
To your
There's no-
residence.
Right, there's no variance, no, there's no exception.
No.
I'm just trying to bring common sense into this. The
No.
ordinance is written as a cookie cutter.
I gave you one line out of this paragraph, out of this ordinance. There are spots in here about exceptions and things like that. And that's why we're here to talk about it.
Well, I understand, you're trying to enforce the ordinance, the way it's written and so forth. It's unfortunate that I invested about $10,000 in my septic system in my office, got a permit, and no one alerted me to the fact that I needed to hook into the sewer. And that was through the town.
Yep.
And that was since 2011. This was in, it was 2011, actually, 2012 that I did that. And I've got a brand new septic
Yep.
field and so forth, and it's kind of unfortunate that it would have been a good time to invest that money in a connection.
Absolutely.
There are statements in the paragraph about a newly installed septic system and waivers that can be granted upon a recommendation.
It seems to me, just from the sensible part of it, I mean, I'm sitting on a lot that's 35 acres. You'd think that lot can accommodate one residence with one septic system. And across the street, I'm sitting on 15 acres. You think that property could support one septic system on?
Sure. And I understand that there's been many other people that have a decent amount of property that are under the same circumstances as you, but they have complied upon request. Not saying that it was done overnight.
Can we read that, can we actually read that whole ordinance, Ethan?
The whole section?
Yeah,
Sure.
just to get
Okay.
it out, there's no,
Section 30.2.4, the owners or owners of all houses, buildings, or properties used for human occupancy, employment, recreation, or other purposes requiring the disposal of sewage situated within the town and abutting on any street, alley, or right-of-way in which there is located a public sanitary sewer of the town is hereby required at the owner's expense to install suitable toilet facilities therein and to connect such facilities directly with the proper public sewer in accordance with the provisions of this ordinance within 90 days after receipt of official notice to do so, provided said public sewer is within 200 feet of the property line unless prevented by topographical or other reasons. The Sewer Commission may, after receiving the recommendation of the Code Enforcement Officer, Town Engineer, and/or Superintendent, grant exceptions to residential housing units for newly installed private septic systems determined to be less than 5 years old, or where excavation of the public highway is prohibited by state law or regulation, or where unusual circumstances exist due to the presence of ledge or financial hardship. In the event that an exception is granted under this section, a connection must be made within 10 years of the date such exception was granted. In cases where a building sewer stub has been provided, yet the property is not connected to the sewer system for any reason, the town may assess a ready-to-serve fee as defined in Article 30.11. So yeah, it's quite a blurb. I'm inclined to have the CEO and the superintendent consider a waiver for your residential property where your septic is newer, and the ordinance was drafted at the same time. But the waiver would involve a timeline such as the 10 years stated. I don't know how anybody else feels about that particular property.
I think that's the right thing to do.
I can be on board with that. But that's 10 years from the installation of that septic system?
Be 10 years from the day we grant the waiver.
Today.
That's how I would interpret it.
When did you have, it was the house that you just had done in 2012, right? Not the office?
Not the office, no.
Okay,
Yep, I have a survey, I had to hire a soils person, the gal with the horses there, Beth Flynn came in and drove a plan
Sure.
and signed, and had photos and everything there.
The 10 years would have started back in 12 if this had come up and there was a waiver and this was even talked about, but apparently it wasn't. So
Correct.
I don't see how we can retro start 10 years and make him do it in a few.
I will say, interrupt real quick, just to clarify your question before about ordinances. So here's a letter from Franchi to Bob Griscom, CEO at the time, 1999, and it is in your transition from the dentist offices, from your old to your new. And it goes into the idea of there's a sufficient capacity at your new lot, estimated at 50 gallons per day person using the State of Maine Department of Human Services table of design flows facilities. This estimate is for a single building use as the dentist's office only. I've also included a copy of the regulation from the town of Rangeley sewer ordinance concerning hooking up to public sewer. So this is, granted, written 99, this letter. And so part 2, use of public sewer required. This refers to it as section 3, but it states, connection to public sewer is required. The owners of all houses, buildings, or properties used for human occupancy, employment, recreation, or other purposes situated within the town and abutting on any street, alley, or right-of-way in which there is located a public sanitary sewer of the town is hereby required at his expense to install suitable toilet facilities therewithin to connect such facilities directly with the proper public sewer in accordance with the provisions of this ordinance within 90 days after the date of official notice to do so, provided that said public sewer is within, in this case, 300 feet of the property line. So obviously that a lot more in depth and the number changes, but 99 was the same conditions. Now, enforcement wise, I can't say what happened there, unfortunately.
Well, I can tell you what happened, when I bought the property, I was not comfortable with a septic system in my office. In my other office, I was in the town system, and I knew that Route 4 was being paved. And I know that there's a state law that says once a road is paved, you're not allowed to cut the pavement for, is it 2 years? Or
It's usually, yeah,
several years,
2,
whatever it is.
5-year moratorium.
5 years?
Yep.
So I knew that if there was a problem with my system, that I wouldn't be able to hook into the towns. So I called, friend said, listen, said, I'd like to put a stub in here in case I need to connect into it, because once the road's paved, I'm not gonna be able to access the town sewer system for 5 years. So he said, yeah, he put it in, sent me a bill, I paid it, and never a word was mentioned about me requiring to hook into it, which I wouldn't have had a problem doing that at the time, but I was unaware. I did it as a safety in case the system I had was not sufficient to my needs. I mean, I dug it up and inspected it, we drained it, I shoveled out the sand down the bottom of it and tested it, seemed to be working okay, but I would, had I known, I wouldn't have invested any time in messing with that system and would have went ahead and
Yep.
piped right into it. But, like I said, I'm ignorant for not reading up on this stuff, but I feel like it gave sufficient opportunity for the powers that be to say, hey, by the way, you're supposed to look into this.
No,
So,
it's unfortunate that things slid through like that, and I wish I'd said this to some of the other people we met with. It stinks that we're picking up where other boards may have dropped behind,
yeah.
but we feel we have to move forward with it anyways.
Well, I guess one thing that I hope that you would do in your process, now that you're reading ordinance and get used to them, is that you say, well, you know, this ordinance was voted with a certain intent. Does it still make sense across the board? Is it possible to modify this ordinance to make it seem more reasonable? You know, those are the kinds of things that if I were sitting on a board would say, you know, something, this cookie cutter doesn't really fit every situation here. And I know that when I was involved with another project in the planning board, you know, their hands were tied because downtown, if you were gonna change use of a facility down there, you had to require off-street parking. And there was no land with these properties for off-street parking. So it was a sticking point for anyone that wanted to do anything downtown. So I introduced an ordinance change, which passed at a special town meeting, which basically gave the planning board discretion to waive or modify the parking requirement between Depot Street and another street in the town. So that downtown congested area, it gave the board some latitude as to how to enforce the ordinances. So, you know, those kinds of things, if you see an ordinance, you say, oh man, this, you know, do we want to use an iron fist and do this, or does it make sense? Is there an idea to modify an ordinance to make it more reasonable, to give us some latitude, you know?
No,
Can I speak on that real quick?
yeah, absolutely.
In my 8 years, well, will be 8 years in November of the town, I feel that the boards that I've supervised in the last 4 years specifically, with a couple of these members, one being part of them, and the people I've worked with, have done very well. Where you've just asked to look at that ordinance and determine whether or not you can be flexible under it or not, or how you interpret it. Now, I'll say in that same comment that every new property that's come on, and some of your neighbors that have worse circumstances than you will, have connected.
Sure.
So I think we've done our due diligence, and it's time now to review each property, as you stated. You know, we're being flexible in timeframes and ability in constructional phases. But again, there's new properties that have connected, or existing properties that have connected, that have had to meet geographical circumstances, which have included they put in pump stations and which have become very costly.
Sure.
There's new properties that will be online, or constructions will be taking place this summer that will be in the same circumstances that probably will meet the same as your house will, similar distances. So just to keep that in mind, you know, I commend, excuse me, thank you, condemn the board that we have had, and kind of be conscious of the community that we're in, and trying to work and live in the community and try to uphold, but be realistic.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, that was well said. But the only other thing I could add to it was that when you are flexible, or you open your ordinance to flexibility, and there has to be there's always eyeballs looking at you, wondering why you flexed where you did. That's the only problem.
I mean, it's got to be writing, obviously.
So,
But yeah, I'm not implying that the due diligence hasn't been taking place there. I just I feel bad sometimes for you guys when you do these things. Your hands are tied to the ordinance, and sometimes it seems a little bit of an overreach.
I will say on that, I agree with you. It'd be nice at the end of the day to clean some of these things up, to get off your plate. So moving forward, that there's no mirror that comes back and says, well, why did you do this different for such and such, or why did it take so long to do play catch up over the years? There wasn't enforcement made. But if you get to a clean slate, we'll call it a clean slate, and you can move forward with any kind of new property that comes online, or we'll say a rehabilitation of a property. At least at that point, you can set that line, that boundary, and be fair. I say be fair, but have consistency. And hopefully with the board that you have or comes on, with retention of certain individuals, whether it's the superintendent or members, you can maintain that consistency. Hopefully.
Is it okay if I just say something?
As far as I'm concerned, yes.
Just for your information, myself and the planning board have looked at a lot of the chapter 38 codes, and I've looked at some codes like mooring and a couple other ones that have some bad language on them. So we're getting ready to turn that over to the town manager, he's gonna give that over to the legal team. And we've made a lot of suggestions for improvements, but, so if you guys wanna look at this and see if you think there's something you've had problems with, and you wanna do any suggestions, you could do that, and, you know, we could send that forward as well, depending on what you guys feel about it, so.
I agree that there's definitely some areas where interpretation can be dangerous, so.
When you get a chance, if you guys want.
I will say that we, with Tom on as CEO and Keith in his roles, we made a decision, I don't know how many meetings back, and I believe the selectmen were talking about it too, that no building permits, not that this affects you right now, but no building permits are gonna be issued without all the agencies, the planning board, the zoning board, the sewer board, even contacting the water district outside of the town government. That way everybody knows what's expected of them, because apparently that hasn't always happened. That's unfortunate. So, I don't know if you guys want to mull over the waiver thing outside of the meeting.
Yeah, I would say, given Dave has roughly 8 minutes
To get his daughter,
to
yeah.
get his, you know, to get your children, I guess I would say if you had any questions, I would say we obviously have 2 properties for yourself to move forward on. Dentist's office is, obviously has the stuff in place that you had requested to be constructed, obviously. That would be more of a push for me. Your residents obviously, given your, I'd be open to a time frame that we discussed, to be open to, utilizing the septic system for what it is, with a future expectation to connect eventually, for given whatever said time. The dentist's office, at the same time, has some conditions set forth through the state and then through the town ordinance also, being the metals and conditions of the dentist's office. The state requires amalgam filters and
Yeah, all that stuff already.
yeah. So just we'll have to update our records if that time comes, and then I would also say it's probably worth a call to DEP for yourself, because right now there is no record of your filtration system.
Oh, well,
Just to
state doesn't have a record of it.
yeah, which came to me.
I'm not sure why.
I don't. Yeah. So I just
Why.
glad it's in place, obviously.
Just two points on that. One is, as soon as those filtration systems came on the market, I got one.
Okay.
Okay, and actually, and the second thing is, that amalgam, okay, I've never used it in Rangeley, okay? The only amalgam that's in the system is stuff that I have to remove,
Fair enough.
okay? And I actually have in addition to a filtration system that pulls out I have 2 systems that take it out,
Okay.
besides one of them is what the state has to use. But
Excellent.
yeah, I don't like that stuff, never did, and, it's, anything that's getting into my system is minimal compared to what
Well, I'm sure.
happens usually.
The unfortunate part is the state requires, for yourself and myself at that same point, for my testing that I have to do on a regular basis, that I can't have those metals or other chemicals, objects, anything else come through that system. And
Yeah, on the same token, as far as chemicals go, of course, radiology is a big part of, and I've been digital for many years now. I don't
Okay.
use any of those chemicals anymore.
Excellent.
It's very conscious of that stuff.
So in that case, being time conscious, I would say, obviously, as we move, whatever the board decides to do property-wise, and we'll set those to the discussion. Maybe it's worth another discussion to move forward there and have people have some questions, but I'm sure will arise. But as we move forward with the dentist's office, obviously we'll get together, and then you supply me with whatever records I would need in plans to show those filtration systems and whatever else. That's all I would request.
Quickly, since we know you have to go, what we've done with other property owners is ask them to try to come up with some kind of timeline, some kind of plan, and then get back to Keith and Tom. You don't have to come to another meeting. And, you know, how long you think it would take for the dentist's office, and we can discuss it further, but this was the first
Do I
step.
need some kind of a license, a certain contract with a particular license to run this line for me, or?
There's 2 contractors in the town of Rangeley that are permitted right now, with the sewer department, that's M&H and Moral Excavating. Those are the 2 companies that are allowed to touch Keith's sewer system.
Okay.
Currently. Now, there are, in the ordinance also, we do allow that for comparable contractor, you'll say from out of town, you have, you know, a preference. As long as they meet the conditions of the ordinance and the specifications of the sewer system and have obviously the $1 million liability insurance and so on, then we can look at approving them. It's not the permit that comes, it's an inexpensive permit, but it's a permit that comes in place
Okay.
for them to be able to connect. The way your stub's already in place too, technically I would say if you had a licensed plumber make that final connection,
That's true.
you could, you know, it's on your property at that point, so you can kind of utilize who you want to.
Okay.
As long as that final connection, well, there, you know, whether it's that, we'll say that last coupling is put in place, and that's where I would require somebody that
Yeah, let me ask you
is
this question,
permitted.
okay? I'm in the midst of planning college tuition financing things, okay? And this is gonna be going on for some time. And one of my options, obviously, is to, would be to sell a portion of property, okay? Now, where that stem was put, it's conceivable that if I was to subdivide that property, the line would cross the sewer line that goes to that stem. Is that a no-no? Is that gonna cause problems?
Yeah, any kind of Ys or Ts into sewer lines, we'll say, to share a stub isn't recommended by any means, even with.
Not Ys or Ts, but if I,
You're just talking about the survey line.
talking the survey
Would
line,
be bisecting your,
Oh, yeah,
stub
no,
line.
so at that point, you would just request an easement for a right of way for
okay,
your sewer. That's all you have to do. Sorry, I misunderstood you, sorry.
You should be able to work that into your deeds,
okay.
pretty easy.
I hope I made that wrong, but I noticed that the stub was put down the hill so it would be gravity feed.
Absolutely.
And I forget how far down we went, but it seems like it's pretty far down the road. I've never seen it put in.
I have the number right, I had it right here in front of me, holding it out too long, but. Yeah, sorry. I don't wanna keep it, so.
That's marked, I kind of know where it's down, it's not right at the office, it's down the hill a bit. So,
Well, thanks for coming in, Dave. We don't want this to be a painful process for anybody. We just want it to be a process moving
Yeah.
forward, that's
well,
all.
it would have been really painful to put a line in for my house after spending $10,000 to
Yep.
upgrade the system when it would have moved the time to do it, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's 360 feet from your upper driveway,
Yeah,
or the manhole just north of your upper driveway.
yeah,
So.
that's quite a ways.
That's what he's down.
So that's a long piece of pipe.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's,
so from your house, it's, from that office, it would, 100-foot run or so. But anyway,
alrighty, well, I'll have to give MH a call and have them scope it out and go from there.
excellent,
All right,
thanks, Dave.
thanks, Dave.
All right,
Have a good night.
Take care, Dave.
Have you ever seen how bright it's snowing outside?
I closed the window. Because the sun was in my eyes and now it's snowing.
It is snowing outside.
You had to ruin the whole
See,
meeting.
we're on camera and I can't say what I really think right now.
It's supposed to.
Trust me, I know what you're doing. I feel the same.
You guys do be here?
I think you're all set for the time being. We'll discuss.
Dismissed.
I
I always wanted to say that.
Yeah, this
I
is-
thought it was worth mentioning that we're working on the ordinances in
Yes.
case
No,
you guys
no, that
have
was
any
good.
issues.
Yep.
You can look it over.
Absolutely.
No, I
Okay.
want all these people to know that we're all in this together, so that it's not like the big bad sewer people or the big bad CEO or,
No, I think your approach is right. Work
Yeah.
with people, so.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, you guys take care. See ya. See ya.
See you.
alrighty. Okay,
I do wanna move forward, discuss that further, but maybe it's not the time right
oh, we can discuss it right now, it's
now.
on the table.
It is, he seems like he's obviously open, just have a hard time with the acceptance of, I didn't know, or really nice to know. You take out a sewer application in 1999, at the dentist's office, never followed through with it. Your house came online, to the best of my knowledge, on a weekend from a company from New Hampshire. So,
We
I
don't
just, I'm willing, I wanna work with everybody obviously, but there's a point where, yeah,
none of us were there for the conversation, but if the superintendent at the time let him, as far as the dentist office, let him put a stub in and signed off on the stub and started assessing the ready to serve fee and didn't follow through
That's-
with
yes.
making him hook to the sewer, then I'm not gonna put blame on the customer in that instance.
not off that,
That's for sure.
certainly not.
Um,
The house wise, that's one that gets me, hangs me up, but we'll go from there.
Okay,
Well, I'll see what he comes back with, and, for numbers, and hopefully in a timely manner, and we'll move forward.
at least we've moved, what do we have, one customer left that hasn't
Yeah.
responded?
Fontaine,
Fontaine, we just have a problem getting a hold of
they're not around very often.
Town Lake, right, well,
Oh, that
See,
one.
it seems unusual because he is a businessman and I don't see him shying away from appointments or at least return phone calls, so.
Sorry, it's just hard to gauge. Are they ever even here?
not that I know of.
Yeah, they're just not here very often.
Do you,
I think he has people stay there more than he
A
comes
lot,
up here.
yeah, exactly. It's definitely a vacation,
Um,
or home, or family, or whatever.
this, yeah, I don't know if we know anyone that handles his stuff. I don't know
Well-
if he has a relationship with his contractor still.
I was gonna say, he is partners with Randy Goodwin, I
Okay.
believe, in the whole Marble Station.
Do you,
And I know the water district has a contact of some sort.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised you guys don't have a bad contact.
No phone numbers. I can't.
Oh, no phone number?
We don't generally have phone numbers for anybody.
So,
Oh,
yeah, we
okay.
don't keep them in trio.
I
So,
can't give you
I write
anything.
letters and stuff that I don't know what they're.
Well, we could
could you reach out to Randy maybe
probably pursue that way.
and see if he could at least,
If you could,
maybe have him give the town office a call?
that's how we'll pursue it.
Because it strikes me funny that he would be avoiding the situation. I don't see that to be true at all.
I think it's too
We've,
early.
we've had relationship with him in the past, he's always been very responsive to anything that we've had to deal with, as far as.
He probably just doesn't know.
Just writing the letters is,
Right.
Sure.
not doing much anywhere.
Yep.
And you don't know, did he get it and he blew me off, or did he not
Right.
get
Yep.
it? Do I have the right address? Is this the right
No, it's just
person?
Rangeley. It's just Rangeley.
Well, why don't we finish everything with this, under number 8. We'll do the compliance letter and the grease traps all right now since we're in there, so we don't have to bounce back. If that's okay with everybody. So, you got a copy of this 90-day notice? Sorry.
Somebody will let us tell you.
Oh, that's my daughter. Could you run the meeting? John?
Yeah. Bear with me. Continuing on with number 8, so out of that draft 90-day compliance letter, so due to my absence from the last 2 meetings,
Well, we didn't have anything really, so
okay,
this is a new
this is what we've come up with,
draft, yes,
draft in front of me.
yes.
Just goes back to research connection for town ordinance as follows. All right, so we've listed the 2 town ordinances
I'm so sorry.
as stated in the ordinance. And then the language goes on to say the sewer commission has been setting one-on-one meetings to work through individual circumstances as well as requirements. At this time, we're asking for you to contact Lacey Pitt, the town office, at your earliest convenience to set up this one-on-one. If no contact is made, the sewer commission will have to move forward per ordinance to bring you into compliance, for that we all work together to reach the desired end result.
I was wondering what what we do moving forward to bring you into compliance.
It's not, we don't really have like a lot of
Yeah, what kind of teeth do we
enforcement
have?
behind us.
We actually do,
We do?
surprisingly. Now, there's obviously, someone might have to actually, would have to approve it, but we can recommend penalties. We have the enforcement ability, so I have the
Penalties and financial penalties.
financial penalties. It doesn't state that in the ordinance, but that is an ability. Actually, I think that matters. There is a, let me,
Maybe while Keith is looking for that, I don't want to get sidetracked from his thought. I should say, I guess, if no contact is made in a timely fashion to town office, they will have to move forward with the ordinance, and you're gonna be issued with, like, you have 90 days to comply. And then there's gonna be,
Yeah, there's some teeth in here. 30.13.2.
which is stated in the ordinance, but I think it should probably just be stated in the regular language too.
30.13.2, looks like.
Am I talking coherently here? I'm just-
You're saying that it's not specific enough, is that what you're saying? That you need to talk about the 90-day compliance time in that
I believe
sentence?
just the sentence in that as well. Because,
Al, what was that number?
well, I don't know.
30.13.
And I know it seems redundant, but
30.13
the
is
first thing they're
penalty
gonna do is
section.
skip over all the ordinances and read the regular language. And this letter, am I talking the same thing, this letter?
Yeah,
Okay,
this right here.
okay, good.
I already put your suggestion over there. See?
Alrighty. It's a long day.
No, it makes, so you just want a little more specificity so they know exactly what you're...
I think it's just, yes, just to say it in the language versus just saying it from the ordinances per se.
Yep. So we should basically cite it.
I don't think we even have to cite it. I think we can just say, if no contact is made, the commission will have to move forward to bring you into compliance within 90 days of this letter. This is the 90-day letter, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's what I was...
But if you come to us with your one-to-one, then the door is a little more open to work with timelines.
Right, and the ordinance is on the first page, so
Correct.
they'll go back and see exactly what you're talking about.
I don't mean to be splitting hairs, I just think.
Okay, so
Move forward to bring you,
thanks, Al.
all right, I forgot. What page is it on? Sorry.
It's 30.13 is the penalty section. It's at the very back, it's almost like 2 pages from the next to last. What do you have there?
302. Okay, penalties.
Whatever.
Okay.
Little,
Why is yours not?
well, it's just an added letter.
Oh, you have the
Clerical.
responsibility, that isn't,
Gotcha.
You're another.
that's
For
for
ordinance,
responsibility,
bring in
you should have another,
So this,
I think just probably at the end,
right?
all right,
Oh, I guess you got the whole thing, never mind,
probably just
sorry.
talking to
Yep.
Tracy right now since you wrote this
Just
up.
looking at the front page.
Bring in compliance with the appropriate punctuation within 90 days of this letter. So I guess then this letter would have to be sent out certified or registered, so it's signed for on that date.
Absolutely.
Which is the one you signed for, registered?
Certified.
sort of,
Okay.
in this penalty section 30.13.1, the first paragraph, he says, or it says, the offender, at the last sentence, the offender shall, within the period, no, hold on a second. All right. Any person found to be violating any provision of this ordinance shall be served by the town with written notice stating the nature of the violation and providing a reasonable time limit for the satisfactory correction thereof. The reasonable time limit's 90 days, isn't it? Because that's,
I'd say that's more than reasonable. but
that's the time you have for correction thereof. I don't know why it doesn't,
Does it specify that?
yeah,
Probably gives you that flexibility point there, I would say, kind of.
okay.
You have to be, the ability to be more human, so, and the ability of let's say a hardship or whatever else, you have the ability to be a little more flexible and.
Can't track down the property owners.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Well, there's also different things that they're in violation of, like the grease trap thing is one thing, sewer connection is one thing, so that's probably why it doesn't specify.
Right,
this.
so you have the
Some things are a
ability
little more
to
urgent than
address it
others.
per ordinance.
and they could, oh yeah, depending on which violation they
Depending on
do.
what they're doing wrong. or
So
not,
they,
and it
not
is.
to, a penalty not to exceed $10,000 per offense.
That's motivation.
And then I guess if you don't pay, it can go through the lien process. Am I out of bounds saying that? I mean, you could assess a penalty all day long and somebody can just not pay it.
Which I would think at that point, after a given time, you have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
Like, just sort of-
I mean, because that's all that's left, right?
Yeah, I don't
Wait
think
for
that,
it.
yeah.
No, okay. No, hopefully we don't have to talk
I think
about
we
that at all
turn it
anyway.
over for legal
Yeah, at that point,
people
we'll
at
see-
some
we'll
point,
see.
and,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that could be an attorney and that's it.
Okay, so the only person that would warrant getting a 90-day letter is Mr. Fontaine, correct?
If I can get a call from Goodwin, then this
Okay,
is
so-
on anyway, so,
Well,
We'll seek another, we'll keep trying,
Hey,
try to
you-
avoid.
if you could,
yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty sure Al's right. If you can get a hold of Randy, you probably can find him.
Okay.
And then we'll take him up next meeting.
Absolutely.
No, unless someone wants to call a special meeting to get it rolling. If he happens to be in town for some reason, because apparently he travels a lot, I'm assuming, then I would not be opposed to calling a special meeting just so we could sit and speak with him.
I'm open to his schedule for 8 days.
That, or yeah, or, I guess see what he has to say. If he wants to say, send a representative, if he has property managers or
Sure.
GCs or general contractors.
Absolutely.
What year was that house built, if you don't mind my asking?
The new one, I don't
The
know.
house in question, not, the house in question is actually a camp that's been there for
Oh,
years.
Yeah.
okay. Is the same property?
It's behind.
Yeah,
Oh, it's behind, okay,
Well, yeah, kind of.
Was it Boobier?
gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep, and that one,
was still here.
that one is probably further away from the road than Dave's house, or equal to. I'm not sure.
Well, I tell you that, well, we'll actually discuss that a little bit.
Okay,
Yeah.
nothing? All right, so we're gonna try to get a hold of Mr. Fontaine, so as far as the letter goes,
If you guys have any, you probably Tracy already put down any recommendations, corrections, and
yeah,
we'll have that. We'll review it one more time to verify it looks good, and if need be, we'll send it out after the,
I-
next meeting.
keep this letter on permanent file,
Mhm.
and you'll have it for any,
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know how someone would construct something without hooking up, but you never know. So at least we'd have it. Might be some other compliance issue. It might be a, yeah,
No,
I don't know.
agree.
At least the last part would probably fit into other stuff. Yeah. Okay. Anything more on sewer compliance? Anybody?
What you do-
Oh, have you heard back from any of the other people?
I have.
Keith, has Rudy
I have
approached you, or?
No updates.
I know it hasn't been that long really, but
I should, let me,
the fly shop,
I know, I can say that the fly shop has been in discussion with M&H, because they've called me with questions on
I
that.
do have notes on that. Interesting. So Brent did get a hold of Kenny. Kenny had called myself too, actually. I mentioned that. I went and went and visited them. Simply was that Kenny is going to provide a quote, or probably has by now. Kenny had a thought or recommendation talking with Frenchie that they could potentially tie into one of the abutting neighbors
For sewer?
for sewer. Off Frankie's recollection, it would be allowed, but it's not per ordinance anyway.
Well, you wouldn't let
I wouldn't have.
you wouldn't let a 4-inch pipe, does that make a difference? A 4-inch pipe for 2 dwellings?
Given current use,
1 toilet, so.
no, it would
Yeah,
bother me, because obviously there's other properties in town that far exceed that.
sure.
But given 30.4.7, it's not allowed anyway. So it doesn't matter. On the other note of that,
Logistically, yes.
the state inspector, so Tom has been working with Brent also trying to assist with the ADA compliancy issue. So what happens there is, unfortunately, the state inspector has been contacted or is in working too. So the state inspector wants to like full-fledged compliance. Once you touch the building,
Yeah.
they want an addition on the back for the ramp access. They want, and it has to be all useful space. It can't be like put an addition on and there's storage or an entry or like a breezeway in. It has to be full functional floor space. ADA compliant bathroom, and they have to adjust everything on the inside. They actually have to move shelving and allow the hall, like the actual proper alleyway.
So, the ADA, the American Disabilities Act, doesn't make people comply unless they go to do something?
Once you touch a building,
So, but they won't come around and make you comply if they visit your place and it doesn't have handicap access, they won't say you have to comply?
if you haven't, because if you haven't touched it, it's once you touch it, once you remodel anything in that building structurally.
So you pull any building permit, plumbing permit.
Boom, it's coming. So no, you don't have to. If they won't come around and be like, this building, whatever building, X building isn't in compliance with ADA until there's a permit drawn on it. So on note of that, Brent had mentioned that trying to pursue one, so there's waivers available. And Tom, maybe you should have stated that part, but there's a waiver through ADA, there's a few waivers through ADA compliant, inspectors that, and I don't remember the rulings on those now, but he was debating on which to try to pursue, a waiver for the sewer or a waiver through ADA to help reduce cost to a practical point of remodel or functionality of the building. So he wasn't against, obviously, wheelchair access and all that stuff, but he just, becomes a point where it's,
So let me ask you this,
yes,
if they pull a sewer permit, that's not a building permit, if they pull a sewer permit from us, the ADA's, if they pull a sewer permit to take a pipe from the manhole and shove it through the foundation, that's considered a remodel, that one part?
yeah, so that on top of having to construct that closet into a bathroom.
Right. So, but theoretically, they could construct the earthwork, get the pipe in the house in one stage.
Yes.
Let's just,
Yep.
for instance, let's say in a year's time, they got the PVC pipe put into the house, into the business. But they didn't do the rest of it that year. So they could theoretically get this done in stages without causing themselves to have to do the building work, which triggers the other.
Theoretically, it's possible, but I'd say with a blind eye by the CEO.
Okay.
That's why I have to.
No, I just
It's given, of course, given time frames too. I don't know what I'll.
no, I was just wondering.
I think it would take a blind eye and violate. I say a violation, but
And that's what I was asking.
negligence towards
Would you
the-
consider this violating some kind of something?
I did discuss with them, obviously, the idea of stepping the project, phasing it out. So once, I was there for 45 minutes, we had a lengthy discussion, and once we got to the point where phasing would be a feasible option, it calmed them and they seemed to be,
I thought maybe they think you and Tom are different once you're in the office, maybe they were, but I thought that's kind of what we portrayed to them.
they looked at, the cost started coming up really quickly, because
Yep.
Kathy scared them with the quote of,
Sure.
getting into the manhole, and, you know, it's like you said, it would be less expensive if they could wire in to another service.
Sure.
It's feasible, and either one of those sides, but unfortunately, ordinance strictly says that you cannot,
Gotta have your own.
No wiggle room there?
unless you sit directly behind another building, which unfortunately for them, they're right.
Yeah.
Clear view. So. Other than that, that property is making progress. I need to actually play catch up on these guys and get an update for the next meeting. Kenny obviously is hoping to work this spring, start the subdivision, and
Oh, yeah.
I haven't approached Rudy, given, you know, it's only been.
Yeah, he said he was gonna get prices together. Yep, okay. All right, so at least people are communicating, some of them.
So if we could be good on, so I think.
I think so, I'm good on
analysis
it,
we're
yes, as long as.
Quickly on grease traps, I'll try to move forward on this now. Just a quick update, obviously Sarge's remodel, had been went down for some inspection with the frost wall construction, just to babysit our siphon line that's right there. In that, I talked to Jamie Ellis, who is doing the plumbing there right now. So they've installed the backflow preventer to maintain that in place. Grease trap is coming, grease trap will be in place. In that same conversation, Jamie's gonna be installing a grease trap across the street at City Cove, or what was City Cove, as long as classic provision truly moves there. But the grease trap may go in regardless. I know contractors are there working already. I heard there was some hang up with Joanne's, not Joanna, with her move anyway. So, but that will have also a grease trap in place. Johanna, there we go. Excuse me. Johanna's move. And Jamie also stated that he will be installing the grease trap at
Lakeside.
soon. All right, let's say soon this summer. Just
Oh,
has to find a proper location for that grease trap. It's real tight in there, obviously. So that was good to hear. So that's 3 grease traps coming online.
Awesome.
There's one that was unexpected. And we'll take probably more conversation about maintenance and whatnot, which I need to, enforcement-wise, and get on a schedule, definitely needs to be brought forward. So that'll be, I think after we clear up some of these things, that'll be a next, which may just mostly be for myself, but be my next pursuance. Jamie made it very apparent that a lot of facilities don't clean but once a year, and it's, you know, at that point, it's useless. It does nothing.
Does Sarge's, they currently have a grease trap?
They don't have a grease trap, they have a grease dumpster, so they drain all their oils and dump them out in that dumpster, which gets sucked off as.
Yeah,
used.
which a lot of restaurants do, but they still.
Was that okay though? I mean, was that,
It's not, all that does is it brings on the argument of we don't put grease on the drain.
that's not, well, it's not true.
Yeah, you wash
But
dishes.
regardless, you wash dishes, you have residual, and you can go one step further and say, well, we wipe it off first. At the same time, whether or not you wipe it off, it doesn't, you still have,
Yeah.
Right.
you're still gonna accumulate that 100 milligrams.
No, they're required to have a grease. So we're good, so you're saying that it's possible that we're gonna gain 3 grease traps, that's great,
Very soon,
without a whole lot of argument,
absolutely.
yeah.
I like that.
So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, so no matter what, that's progress.
That's
so-
progressive.
Yeah,
That's
so,
on its own. People have been very cooperative in that, and I
Good.
will, some facilities have gotten better with regular quarterly or progressive maintenance. Talking with sergeants, I know the head cook went up, it's already above and beyond what I was gonna expect for cleaning. You know, he plans on doing it at least once a month, if not more.
cool.
He's had plenty of experience with it, he knows the process of that. So.
This is at Sarge's, you said?
Sergeant.
All right, well, I guess we'll have to backpedal a little bit. Did everybody get a chance to review the minutes from February?
prior approval, I'd like one amendment, please, and that's okay. Section 7, Chickel update, we had talked about working on a manhole behind what was the Sergeant Insurance Building. I'd like to, where it says Sergeant's Building, I'd like to change that to either the map and lot or that, like 911 address, or something that kind of dictates the building, not the previous owner, but, you know, but the current.
So not Northeast Bank either.
Well, Northeast Bank
Maybe-
owns it right
No,
now.
not anymore.
They did sell it.
They did sell it.
Okay.
I believe. But yeah, I did take word for it. So that's sold. So I either need a new property owner or at least the physical address for that building. I'm
Physical
saying
address.
What do you use physical address?
would be better fitted.
Yep.
Yep.
That way it's never a question.
Yep. I think in Rangeley we get accustomed to
Yeah.
calling things what they were, what they are, or what they're about to be.
I think that's anywhere, any smaller town.
To be a historian. Everyone calls it three different things.
Keith, Al, and I have to be historians, and our job's a lot of times to figure out where things are.
Yes, that's for sure.
I still call my house Tiny's old house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
I live, you know, where the house burned down. That's
Yeah.
what I tell people.
Yeah. Most part, they know all about it.
Was that the only?
That's all that I given my last review for the last meeting that we had postponed. That's what all I had for
Okay.
of a concern.
Make a motion that we accept the minutes as amended.
Second.
February 13th, obviously, but.
Any discussion? All in favor? 4-0-0. Okay. Public to speak, we kind of crammed that all together. Number 8, number 3, and made that number 2. So I guess we'll move on to number 4. There's no commitment at this time.
No, unfortunately, that did not get done, so we'll have a meeting relatively soon.
The commitment.
Commitment.
Okay.
It's on the treasurer's desk, you know, for these.
So we're gonna call a meeting and everybody's gonna come in.
I'll let you know.
Okay. So special meeting.
Do we foresee that being this week?
She said she was gonna try and get it.
Very,
done
very
tomorrow.
hopeful, very hopeful.
Okay. So we wanna try to do this tomorrow. Is that what you're saying?
I would leave it open.
She's gonna, yeah, I don't know that I would.
But we
try and
can't-
schedule.
we can't schedule a meeting that quickly, can we? Public notice and all that stuff.
Have to, isn't it 3 days, even for a special meeting?
It's still a meeting.
I don't have an answer for that one.
Yeah, that's true for a special meeting, I would have to,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
So we'll, follow and then give us a
Think
call.
about that. Thank you.
Yeah, all right, absolutely.
Okay. All right, abatements,
No,
supplemental billing.
nothing.
That's great. The Peter Perry, which is still on here, should he even still be on here, or?
Yeah, Tom's looking into that building, trying to get an update on, with the planning board and the cup for it, obviously, and then there's some issues right now that are causing the inquiry, so the cars are buying up, you know, the utilization is not, that's what it's supposed to be, and then there's
Is this across from
Moose Island. No,
the little, what used to be the here we go.
7 Island building,
Yeah,
yeah,
the historic-
exactly.
Right, see?
So there's a few law compliance issues, one, given the activity there, and two, the filling of wetlands and everything.
Okay, so we're just gonna park it right here until,
I want to leave it right there.
okay, fair enough. Andrew Ash, is that a summertime thing, or?
We can actually take that off. I need to get an update.
Okay,
From, they had mentioned, I don't think it was this summer, but they had mentioned the idea of obviously the apartment. I think it was, yeah, I'll leave it alone, but they mentioned that the, yeah, space and then tearing down the house and building a new one, whatever. So it's a lot happening, I don't know when.
His permit is still current for initially what it was applied for, but
So at this
the
point,
project stalled, it's not moving forward. Is that-
Those,
hopefully it hasn't, but probably has. I'm sure the bathroom in the bike shop probably got finished, and I doubt it's
Would you be willing to send Ryan down or somebody to do an inspection?
absolutely.
Ryan or Dale or whoever, just so we can,
I'm gonna
so we're
review-
not doing this.
Yeah, I'm gonna review the minutes, obviously, and get an update on the complete project, but get an update on that bathroom, and then we'll move forward from there.
Cool. All right. And I don't think anything's been happening on the hill, so, well, maybe something.
Yeah,
Water in, water out.
water and not so much out.
Yeah. Oops. What did I do here? No, okay.
All right, so, check your updates. All right, so, real quick, go through this hopefully. We had, so prior to last meeting, we actually had a unexpected sewer service repair on High Street for the Liberty property. Come to find out that, I haven't got a bill yet from the contract from MH, but through, I would see how it gets discussed, but through compaction of that trench that was put in place for that road, there was obviously I'll say 4 foot, but a repair made, 2 furnaces and a section of PVC pipe. Upon excavation, through that wonderful frost in the road we finally got into, it was pretty clear that when it was compacted, it managed to stay connected, however. The furnaces were at 45s, like, were stretched. So that, in that perfect 4 foot section. So I would say, obviously, maybe it was some frost movement, but that pipe had a belly, and it was a direct drop, not like a gradual rise, one furnace, it was both furnaces stretched down. So, as of right now, the sewer department has absorbed, well, as of right now, and it will be maintained this way, but we have maintained and absorbed the cost on this repair, given its location within the road, in the right of way. So, which brought forward my goal for future projects, any road projects that involve a reconstruction of, I want to redo sewer services from the main, from saddle connection to outside of the property, well, paved line anyway, to their grass property, we'll say, given a right of way or whatever, given a certain point, so that we're not getting back into this.
So from the main, back to the grass, for lack of a better term.
So back to an area where you're not gonna have to interrupt your new construction. In a time, obviously, it may be a point where something could fail within that new disturbed soil, but if we can take any kind of measure against that, I think it's a value worth pursuing. And maybe a cost savings. So that was one event that took place in the last couple of months. Generally, we're actually still making it snow. We haven't made snow in April the last couple of years, but this year we are. We just hit 15 million gallons today, or we're over 15 million, but we surpassed 15 million gallons today. So 15 million for us is significant. That's our target every year. Typically 10 million gallons is a sufficient amount to discharge, spray out, make room. But given the year we had with precipitation and weather and how we've had to break up with flows, that we need 15 million's a more desirable number, and it kind of hopefully allows for adequate room for spring runoff. Again with this year, the lagoon's a tricky character to measure out. This year the drifting numbers kind of got drawn out. We thought we were in better shape than we were. Unfortunately, the ice doesn't really allow you to clearly see where water level is. It had dropped once, we had a shelf, but that number became skewed with the drifts, and we thought we were about 10 feet deeper than we were. Now, again, I don't truly know where we are water level given the ice, but I don't want to cut into the ice and take any chance of hitting the line or anything, but I feel we're comfortable. I did the math, given flow intake, in and out, and we should be pretty good. So I do it again. Right, obviously, so starting this month, this is our heavy month, so we'll probably take in about 5 to 6 million gallons this month. So a typical month is anyway 2.8 to 3.5 million. So we go about 5.5 to 6 million this month with runoff and
As long as it's not 6 degrees.
as long as it's not 6 degrees. Which if it hits 45 at 6 at night, that works great because it allows
Sure.
slow
Yep.
melt off. So it's ideal. On that, just to go over, the town report's coming out, but to go over it, preliminary numbers, my submittal for that. So the report of operations for a period of January 1st, 2017 to December 31st, 2017. I won't bore you with the years of service at the Chick Hill or whatever else, but during this period, flows to the plant amounted to 39 plus million gallons. That's at 108,000 gallons per day. Precipitation recorded at Chick Hill during the same period totaled 44.86 inches. 40 is I say average and a safe number for Chick Hill. Anything above 40 is start hitting the dangerous level. You only count for so many per inch at Chick Hill in the lagoons. So per inch of the lagoons is 187,000 gallons. So what do you have to count for directly into the lagoons? So out of that 44.86, that added 8.4 million gallons added extra to that number. So we took in 48 million gallons for the year.
Did that last snowstorm throw these numbers up quite a bit? Or?
Actually, the big number was the October storm.
Oh, yeah.
That really threw us there. The winters, I'll get into that, but we average 130 inches. So we're about 10 inches short of that right now for this year. So we're still within reason. So during the same period, in the summer spray, we sprayed out 23 million gallons. Winter spray last year was just over 15 million. 15,485 gallons of winter spray. This totaled, we in a disposal manner, treating, we treated or disposed of 38 million gallons. And last winter we took in, I had 138.9 inches of snow. And then the septic area, we brought in 421,750 gallons of septic sludge. Some of that being John's fish waste.
I got frequent flyer miles up there.
Those are just some numbers.
Cool.
I can-
And that'll all be in the
I'll be
town report, right? I was gonna tell John that, but he seemed like he liked writing it all down, so I just let him ride.
Is that that?
Oh, were you?
I have to do things.
I
do
I keep track of all that stuff anyway, so if you have any other questions, obviously.
Yep. Cool. All right.
And then through the same Liberty project, it emphasized the need to pursue the purchase of a camera system, camera GPS, saw and locating system. We utilize the local contractor. Unfortunately, the signal from the camera head saw and locator was not precise. So luckily we did some homework and it went across some cards and common sense a little bit, and we've located the service. The unfortunate part with this property too was we had the CCTV work done through Ted Berry, the big camera system. So the manhole just outside or across the street from the Liberty's house. We put a new manhole in, so there's a 4-foot section of repair. Then it ties into the old pipe. Where it ties in for about 10 feet, there is small root growth. Unfortunately, it blocks the visual appearance of that lateral coming in. So they didn't pick it up when they did the CCTV work. So they had every lateral coming in except theirs. So it kind of threw me off through imagery and everything. Luckily, we sat down and all that stuff, and we located it with M&H and took M&H's ties actually to the repair. And it should have known better. Vinny was on, but it emphasized the importance of that camera system and having a higher end. I have actually priced out a few, and they're right around ones I want, right? 10 to 15 grand, which isn't overly expensive at the end of the day. So, and I think that allows us at the end of the moving forward. I would envision the ability to essentially map out everybody's service as a one-time, like a one-time introduction process where it also cleans up our records and it inspects and kind of gives us an idea of what owner should take care of, maybe potential problems down the road. And then as future problems occur, we have the ability to make money off it. That was, so.
Yep, right. Well, make money off it and spend less out for the contractor that's doing it for you.
Spend less out and then, return on the investment. I shouldn't say make money off it, that sounds awful.
Right. Well, you'll end up paying for we're working to pay for the tool.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I'm good on updates.
Okay, we killed number 8, the airport project.
All right, so airport project, actually just had a meeting, pre-bid meeting Thursday, excuse me, and pretty good attendance, I will say. There has been some change in the manipulation of Chick Hill and the process of the removal of material. Essentially becomes better. Looking at hopefully, as the contractor gets picked or the bid process moves forward. We'll obviously have a pre-construction meeting and set forth the guidelines that we want to for the boundaries, limits of property lines and the snowfield and whatnot. But we've already expressed the concerns of no cliffs, no holes. So when they do blast, that everything kind of returns, not necessarily to a flat, usable surface, but something that's manageable and traverse and ability to traverse across it. Really, right now there's no. We're in the grant process. Engineers have no hope of it. Maybe hope. There's no vision of a grant prior to September at the earliest. It's very possible. This is the biggest project in the state right now. So funding tends to get borrowed from other places to make things happen. So it's it's plausible that could happen. Unlikely, but plausible. So, and then obviously the project itself is very extensive with road reconstruction and relocation, runway being regraded, a portion of it, the hump out of the middle of it, and then Chick Hill, obviously. So, as we move forward with that project, obviously we'll start to fill you in with daily traffic numbers and any kind of impact to the building. And I'm working with Wright Pierce still to kind of oversee our best interests and concerns with when traffic gets or when the project takes off.
Awesome. All right, is there any other related business for tonight?
Actually, yeah, let me, just go over this real quick. Two things. One will be an update on the Hamilton property at the end of Allen Street. This was an email sent April 5th that says, of course it's addressed to Joe. But she says, I hope that all is well. Just an FYI email to let you know that TC Hatford basement system has been installed, so we're moving forward with being in compliance. Our property manager, Mike Alec, will be taking care of terminating the current situation and will be contacting the town to arrange for inspection. The new basement system is currently set up to drain towards the road and fire hydrant, so please keep me posted on how we will hopefully be able to tie in down a drain of the road on Allen Street and Street in 2019. So they're opting.
So the sump pump ID, we don't even have to talk about that anymore.
No.
Good.
So that's, and obviously Mike Alec has not been in contact with myself yet. I saw him up over the hill yesterday, the day before, so I'm sure he'll hopefully be soon. So that's that.
Awesome.
And two, I'll get these drawings out in the next couple of days to you guys. Jimmy Williams came to me the other day and brought engineered stamp plans for his property on Route 16. He intends to build the garage with living space above the garage this year, which is on Tom's plate to verify that the living space gets constructed. Obviously, because you can't have a outbuilding without a dwelling on a given property.
So that is actually, I wanted that, I remember wanting that answer when we started this whole, so that is in the code somewhere, that you can't build a garage without a dwelling inside.
You can't technically have an outbuilding without a dwelling on the premises.
Say that again?
You can't just build a garage.
You can't
Right.
build a garage, you can't,
Right,
the tennis court property, is
sure.
same situation, but it's all said and done, unfortunately.
No, and that's, I wanted the answer to that question for, when we started this sewer compliance for specific properties.
there will
Yeah,
be-
Awesome.
There will be obviously inspections on this to verify that it happens, but he has supplied me with, he was working with, with Ken Stratton, and they are signed. There are some plans here, so it's, obviously he's gonna build the garage first, it will be with the design, it will be a gravity system to grinder pump with a 2-inch force down to the manhole by the last manhole on system, which is between just past the Crosby's building.
Why does he need a pump? There's no elevation there?
Not enough.
Huh.
Not enough, because once he put his house, so his garage is gonna be up behind the Haley residence.
Yeah, it's up on the upper
And
side.
the house is gonna be down towards the pond,
Oh,
down the hole, so
okay.
you'll bring the garage gravity down by the house.
And then pump from there.
Pump from there.
Yep.
So, and he said rather than having probably cost at the end of the day, between having manholes and maintenance on that pump system, probably just easier. So he's actually been very conscientious of taking the needs for us. So I'll get you guys these plans. I started with a sewer permit, so that'll be coming forward, not necessarily right off, but fairly soon. And so we'll have these plans definitely 45 days prior.
Great.
So I have them now. I'll get them to you guys.
Always nice to see Rangeley being built up a little bit instead of closed down, torn down, or boarded up.
It's a nice change.
And I would say, other than that, I will leave you guys alone and release you.
Well, thank you.
I have
So
nothing
nice.
else.
All right.
I can,
Go ahead.
Tracy, got something else?
I just wanted to correct the number 11. The Board of Selectmen's meeting is actually the 23rd. The 16th is a holiday. That's my mistake. I apologize.
Okay.
if you want to be here on Monday, that's fine.
I don't want to be here on Monday.
Side note on the Hamilton, I would say sump pump direction is I'm going to, hopefully, once I get it put together, not two different documents here, but with the next sewer building going out, I want to include, let's say a fact sheet and or pamphlet that, we'll call it a sump pump disconnection plan or notice, or a clear water disconnect program, something to that nature where stress the importance of disconnecting sump pumps, downspouts, floor drain, not floor drains necessarily, but anything that pulls clean water in to the sanitary system needs to be disconnected and put outside. And it gives, I found some documents today from other areas where they have, obviously give you a how-to step, how to, in a basic standpoint, how to disconnect your sump pump and just run a hose outside. And then they give you an idea of how to collect the water and utilize it for gardens or into a little pond if you want to have, whatever. And then it gives you some pretty clear numbers as to the difference between a sump pump and a connection. And numbers wise, we'll say that a standard 8-inch pipe is 8-inch pipe 200 families can go through section 8-inch pipe, but it only counts for 18 sump pumps. Generate the same amount of volume as 200 homes.
Oh, yeah.
So a sump pump, it's 5,000 gallons plus a day. So it quickly, the numbers quickly increase as sump pumps and other drains, any kind of I&I comes in. So
Yeah. When mine kicks on, when it finally kicks on, I watched it the other night and I was thinking about this. I don't know how many gallons per minute those pumps are, but it ran for, it must have been almost 10 minutes. It ran steady, and the amount of water, I was thinking, the amount of water that came out of that into the sewer system if it was hooked up. And that was just one time it pumped, and it wasn't even really precipitating outside that much.
So, with this, it's just going to be, at first, it's going to be informative. If anybody even reads it, if you get one or two people that either temporarily disconnected or disconnected altogether, you gain something. The goal, obviously, again, it'll be a initial fact sheet, and then there will be a full, design pamphlet, but some more informative information, either upon request or will be sent out also. This may be a relatively soon project with compliance. Like I say, with the grease trap inspections, start doing inspections for sump pumps. And again, probably be common practice that you'll go, people will listen to you, they disconnect them, and then it'll probably eventually be connected again. But if we just reoccur inspections, it's a lot of homes. You have 510 plus customers, so you have to hope between your self-inspections and any kind of sale that takes place that they catch those things and correct them. You're never going to get rid of I&I total, but I think if we can eliminate sump pumps where we gain quite a capacity. So,
Oh, yeah. Even if you send this out, there's a lot of people that don't even know that they're in violation at all. Been that way forever. You may get some people that don't want to be in violation just because they know it and
absolutely.
find another way.
That's all I got.
Okay.
For real, this time.
All right. So our next scheduled sewer commission meeting is on the 8th of May, but we'll be waiting to hear from Tracy on a possible date for a special meeting for commitment. I will carry a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, ladies, gentlemen.
If we had regular scheduled meetings, it would be an hour and a half.
That was, well, we had to give Dave the time he wanted.